Hello, everyone. This is the Threatcast, a podcast dedicated to discussing cybersecurity topics and other technology-related things. Today, we'll be discussing businesses or organizations that attempt to provide a free or charitable service to the public and some of the pitfalls or benefits of them doing so. So let's get this started. My name is Paul Huddlemeyer, and today I'm joined by Adam Blake.
Hello.
Mark Grosso.
Hi.
And Rob Agork.
What's up?
How's that?
Oh God.
How's
so bro.
What's that, bro? How's everyone doing?
Swimmingly.
You say that every time, Adam.
That's my
doing,
thing.
Paul?
Don't take with my thing.
It's your catchphrase?
Yes.
Adam, this podcast hasn't gone on long enough for you to have developed a catchphrase.
Hey. Yeah, he's not wrong, actually.
Yeah.
You got to start somewhere, though. It's like
We need at least 10 viewers.
cowabunga. Oh.
Ooh.
No, you mean 10 views.
Ooh.
All right.
That's a good point.
All right. So today we're discussing businesses that create a service specifically made to be used by the public, typically a free service that is not always limited to developing countries, but like think of it like aid. At least in the example we're going to be talking about in a second, it's kind of meant that way. So let's kick this off. Let's start with Facebook. About a year ago, they started a service called Internet.org. It's like a social network service. I think joined by 6 other companies. I think Samsung and Nokia were part of them, a couple other companies. And they plan to bring affordable and I think free access to selected internet services to like countries like India, so developing countries. And what they said is they wanted to do that to increase efficiency and facilitate development of like new business models and stuff to provide internet access around the world a little bit easier and without, the premium cost that comes with it, especially for developing countries. So that sounds great, but Internet.org, which is what it was called, was renamed to Free Basics in September 2015. So why would it be renamed? The reason is because there was a lot of backlash over the idea of calling it the Internet, because it's not the Internet. It's just like certain sites. So what Facebook is offering, or was offering, it's still going on, but not in India, was free access to specifically selected websites and services. So you can get on Wikipedia. There are things like domestic abuse information lines and hotlines and stuff. You can get on Facebook, of course. And these aren't necessarily bad, right? But come on, Facebook's a business. They're doing this for a reason, right? So they sell ads. They can target your viewing habits. They can make that into more advertisements. And there's a couple other things, but let's kick this off. Anyone have any comments off the bat?
Sure. Another example that people might be able to relate to, unlike your example, Paul, is Apple. If you have, Amazon. If you have a Kindle, you can read their books off their network for free.
Isn't it just a sample?
No, you can actually download the whole book for free. They don't have like a 3G equivalent. Well, they do have a 3G equivalent, but for the white paper, you can get it off their satellites, essentially. And since the size is so small, it's not a problem. And then it also like can feed you ads that are timely, which you wouldn't otherwise be able to do.
Wait, are you saying the book is free?
No, you have to pay for the book, but like
okay. But the
service
download
to download
is
it,
free
yeah.
as long as you use Amazon's little internet.
So what's wrong with that, Adam? What's wrong?
So a couple issues. If you get beyond the sociology part of you're going to second and third world countries and giving them access to Facebook before they have access to WebMD,
Lupus.
Yep, that could be challenging. Then everyone in India doesn't think they have AIDS when they actually have the cold.
Yeah.
So, like there should be a market for actually getting legit internet and unadulterated internet to developing countries. Like that's a fantastic way to get out of poverty and to, train your people for a global workforce is give them internet.
Okay, who supplies the internet though?
So I mean, you're gonna have people who want to make money off of this, right? So Amazon would probably get into the market. Facebook, I'm sure, would look to expand it. But, all the companies that are already up their own ass about how philanthropic they are.
Oh well, if
So you listed all these websites. They're supplying internet because.
Yeah.
So what I'm looking at is it's saying mobile operators basically are supplying the access to the different internet sites.
Right, and then they're getting paid back by the corporations that are
right.
getting the content
Got it.
served.
Okay.
So it's only like, I think 20 to 40 different sites at this point, in a different, I think a couple African countries. It was shut down in India, but it is at least pitched as open. So like you could submit your website to be put on there, but like that's not the point, right? Or if you're trying to give someone the internet, right, you're not trying to give them a watered down version of it, just because they can change it. They can change it in a year. They could make it so you're looking at things that maybe the rest of the world isn't looking at, kind of like China,
Right.
Just
Well,
restricting what you're seeing.
Well, but
And so
then,
this
I guess
this topic.
kinda, sorry. I was just going to say, I think that begs the question, like, if you're someone in a poor African country, would you rather be able to at least see something like a WebMD or a Wikipedia than see nothing? And, even if it's free for now, that's true. But I think there's definitely value to that. And negating that value, I don't think is necessarily fair, especially considering how much R&D these companies have put in to kind of make this a thing for these poorer nations.
Sure.
My big problem is Sarah McLachlan always told me in the Comedy Central commercials that poor African countries need food and water.
I think she was
Why
fighting for the dogs.
would these companies give internet to countries that have never had internet and probably can keep living without it when they probably need food, water, shelter, and a sustainable place to
you
live?
can get knowledge from the internet, so
But
they can
Sarah
use-
McLachlan says,
You know what? She says a lot of
everyone
things.
needs your help.
She's manipulating you, man.
I really
It's
feel
like
like Sarah McLachlan was the puppy lady, right?
She was both.
Okay.
She's
I think
just
she
Really?
all of it.
Oh, wow.
I have no idea.
I don't
I'm
know.
just going
I
off
could be
Mark.
wrong.
Yeah, Mark,
Puppies, children, what's the difference?
you know what they need? They do need internet, supplied by drones and balloons flying overhead.
So they can order the food and water that they can't afford?
Yes, they're going to order an Uber to pick them up and take them to the water.
Wow. This is
That makes-
really taking a turn
All right,
here.
all right. So Rob, I agree with you. Something is better than nothing, right? So
Look, the fact of the matter is, these
it can
companies
go down
are going
it
to
can
try
go
to
down a
monetize
dark hole.
from this. Like, they're going to try and monetize.
Right.
Obviously, I mean,
Right.
they have an obligation to their shareholders to monetize this. So you can either look at it and say, okay, Africa should never get internet because, frankly, it's such a big country and it's kind of the same problem we have in the United States where our internet speeds are so low because the infrastructure isn't there, and it's mainly because there's just a lot of land in this country. If you live in a rural area in the United States, it's very difficult to get internet, and it's very expensive if you want to do something like satellite internet. So, maybe they test this with these poor countries, and hopefully that technology goes somewhere. But they may not necessarily monetize it how you think. I mean, a lot of research and development leads to new things that can be used in other technologies. So, I don't.
So, you're saying that Facebook should be able to send internet to the country of Africa so that they could get the testing proper to get it to Nebraska?
I'm saying that in the process of doing the research in order to achieve the goal of bringing internet to Africa, you might subsequently come up with new technologies that can be used elsewhere in the company.
Yeah. And for the viewers at home, if you do exist, we are aware that Africa is in fact a continent and not a country.
Prove it.
Did I literally just say country?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to point out at you, and then you
Yeah,
didn't
they
get
both-
that.
Wow, did it
Adam,
twice?
Adam,
Really?
It's an honest
You,
mistake.
Adam, you said the same thing.
Sorry, guys.
That's
I'm
why I
nervous.
was trying
It's
to say it
my
back
first
to him.
podcast.
It's my first time.
It's my first time.
So, Rob.
Yes.
Okay, so I get it. We're just going back to the something's better than nothing, right?
That's an argument that I'm making, correct?
Yeah.
I will take the counter to that. I would argue, yes, I'm on it.
Can you top it?
I don't know. So I would argue, damn it, that it's not the, like, so yeah, something's better than nothing, but there should be a push to not let corporations control the access to the outside world for entire sections of the world.
And you
right?
think governments could do it better?
I'm saying that there should be an effort to get everybody online. Have
By
internet
whom?
access available. By each individual government should have their own incentive to give their people access.
They should.
There should be restrictions, Rob, and I agree that governments have a difficult record, just like companies, to put forth these restrictions. However, a giant body of countries should be able to put together some restrictions, some net neutrality restrictions that would limit the possibility of this being a negative.
Well, not only that, but like Facebook makes their money off of selling your data, right? We've accepted that in this country, but if that's your only outlet to the outside world, you have a very captive audience that is not going to understand the nuances of everything you put on Facebook is owned by Facebook. Like here, we willingly give that away, but that's our choice, and you can opt out. If your only access to the world is these 15 sites of which a corporation can monitor every single bit of that traffic and monetize it, like that seems rough.
Okay, but you have to remember that pretty much every technology or invention that's ever been in the history of humankind has started with one person trying to patent that and make sure that no one can ever use it again. I don't think that this is a new phenomenon. I think if a company is successfully able to monetize this, there will absolutely be companies that will compete. And you will see a competitor come in where you can pay $5 more and get all your sites. And that kind of goes to a larger net neutrality argument as well, where everyone here is afraid that we're going to only pay for certain websites, and we've always kind of seen that model over the years. But I think realistically, unless regulation gets much worse, I don't think that'll happen in this country, and I don't think it would happen in a place like Africa where the laws and the regulations aren't on the books like they are here.
Right, but that model's already built. Like ISPs have a model of selling access.
Yeah, of course they do.
So it's not like they're reinventing the wheel here.
No, I guess the point that I'm making is that if the initial barrier to entry into an African country forces limitations on the people's access, I think that capitalism and the free market will correct that in the long term. And I'd rather see someone at least try than have no one try at all. And I really don't have any faith in these governments. Given their histories, a lot of them, that they're going to take care of the problem.
Yeah, I'll give you that. So I have another twist. A twist.
I'm listening to your twist.
The twist. So in the Arab Spring, you have governments that are shutting down portions of the internet because they don't want the uprising, and then companies like Twitter give them workarounds.
Yes.
This seems like a different flavor of what we're talking about, but is it? Obviously I think all of us agree that there should be free enterprise or exchange of ideas and ability to protest and such, unless you're at a rally and then you need to hit those protesters.
You're talking about the right to bear arms? Yes, I agree in the right to bear arms.
I just want to make America great again.
We did not. There's no bearing arms here.
I just wanted to see your reaction to that one, Adam.
In the Syrian Revolution, the uprising, right? Just for an example, or in Egypt, there was a company who came in and superseded the government and worked around the government to give people access to free speech, right?
Yeah.
And we all support this because it's our ideals. But if another company from a different country did that in the United States, I can't imagine we would be too supportive of that if they did it over our country.
Generally,
are we all?
So what's the point you're trying to make? That
The question is, like, my issue with Facebook giving access to these people is they get to control the data, or they get to control all the data of the people in the country that they have nothing really to do with. It's just opening up another market, and the government doesn't have any control over it. And then it's being used for good at the time for Twitter to override the government. Are we comfortable with organizations going in and going directly to customers without the government having any interaction,
well,
or actively avoiding the government?
yeah. So that's actually a good question. You know, if this technology exists, should it be regulated? Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yes.
Yeah. And can
and
they
if it was on
block
the other
you
side,
know?
would you be okay with that?
Can you shoot the drone out of the sky that's providing you Wi-Fi because it allows you to get on Wikipedia, which speaks against the government, right? It's a really good question, Adam. You know that I'm a free market capitalist guy, and because I believe so staunchly in that, I do think that it's okay for companies to go in and do this.
But
Was it okay for Henry Ford to make the first car without, all the rules and regulations and all the roads figured out? I'm sure that there was lots of danger in that. And I think that I know that that's probably not the best analogy but I think you know what I'm getting at when I say, I'm willing to take that risk.
right, but if you accept the fact that information is power, right, then we're a fairly open society here in the U.S. of A. Make America great again. And so then the next step
I mean,
is...
we still need to build a wall, right? We're working on that, but you're right.
It's going to get bigger.
Oh. But what if it's a 17-foot wall? Then we build a 18-foot ladder.
Yeah.
It's going to get bigger. You know what, Adam? It's going to get bigger.
You know, Adam,
It's gonna
I
get
watched.
You just made it 30 feet tall.
You know,
It's gonna
Adam,
be the
I
biggest
watched
wall.
John Oliver too.
No, so here's the issue. So if, let's say, China comes in and says, the FDA says that you can't have these off drugs, and then China actively gets them into the country, and 95% of them are good, but 5% of them bad, right? I think we would say that's not okay. And I think that's less of an infringement than a U.S. company going into another country and completely destabilizing it due to giving them freedom of speech. Like, to me, that's a stronger play than China going around our regulations.
Yeah, I don't know if I it's a really good question. I don't know if I have a solid answer to that.
What does the market say, though?
The market is going to demand that they have full access unless, we all want full access to the internet, right? I mean, they're going to demand that. And the only thing that's going to stop another company from coming in and providing that full access is either regulations that stifle barrier to entry into the marketplace, or a government that literally just stops a company from doing it because they're afraid of the power of information.
Now, Rob, what do you think about censorship, and how do you think that's going to play a part into this? Things just getting deleted and removed.
I don't know. I think it depends on how they implement it.
Why do you think that's even acceptable?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, if the question is, what do you think about censorship in regards to this? Why is that just not censorship should not be a thing, period, especially for the internet.
Well, look, I would hope that companies would be smart and not censor things.
Well, that's what this is.
So you're saying things shouldn't be censored?
Correct. I don't think things should be censored. No.
But that couldn't work in this business model.
Right.
Because if someone goes on Facebook and starts spouting out, you know, if they're in China, if someone's in China and says, okay, this is being blocked by the Great Firewall, this is what's happening on the outside,
But-
a lot of people are going to be angry, and they are angry, and they get VPNs and they go on the outside. So essentially making the Great Firewall useless, pointless.
but
So what's the point?
Who said that this free internet that's being given is going to be censored in the first place?
Well, it's
No one.
It's censored by inclusion, right? If you're saying that you can go to these 20 sites, then de facto is the rest of the internet is censored.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. But I again stick by my original argument, which says I would rather have someone get into that marketplace, even if it's very censored, and give people an inkling of what the internet looks like. Okay, because
And you think that by providing that service, even if it's completely not disgusting, but a
Yes,
little bit limited,
absolutely.
a little bit limited, would drive a capitalist movement towards another service that would be
Absolutely.
better, would give them more open. Okay.
I look at it, you know, I have a background in politics, and I look at it like, you know, a lot of these countries that you've seen, you know, you give them a little bit of the taste of what a free market is like, and they keep asking for more, right? A good example of that was you know, Russia and China. I mean, freaking look at China. China eventually probably is going to become a democracy. It's just only a matter of time. That's a whole nother topic. But I guess my point that I'm trying to make is that if you show something to someone that's awesome, even if it's crappy, because to us it would be crappy, but to someone in Africa it would change their life potentially, and they're gonna want more. They're gonna rise up. They're gonna ask for free internet. I mean, look what happened in Iran and in Egypt. I mean, the people, you know, there's backlash against them blocking things. People don't want that. They want freedom, naturally.
Right. So I guess what I'm getting at is, yes, so we opened it up and that's great, and now they have the free discourse. But would we feel the same way if China came through and gave, you know, sub-Saharan Africa access to the internet so far as they can see what communism is and the glory that is communism, and a super North Korean sort of view on the great leader? Would we
Glorious
be
leader.
as the glorious leader, in fact, would we be as supportive of that if it was someone else giving their worldview rather than us giving what we think is the truth?
I see what you're saying. So something that is so unbelievably censored, it's tailored to a specific belief.
But it's censored, like, unless you're opening it up to the entire internet, it is censored.
What if you? I mean, I guess, you know, we'd have to go into a kind of a micro level of what they would actually provide. But I mean, if you give someone Wikipedia,
Sure.
you're pretty good. You know what I mean? Like, that's pretty open for the most part.
Yeah, if you want movie synopsises, but it's not going to get into the deep stuff that they might actually need.
But again, Adam, remember what this original thing is about, and that's about companies going in and doing this. Companies have no incentive, if their goal is to make money, to censor a lot of the internet.
If Facebook's as big as they are and it's as popular as they think it's going to be, which I think it's on its downturn, take that to the stock ticker. If they are that confident in it, they should be able to compete in the entire internet, and not just, we give you 6 sites, including Disney.com, Wikipedia, and Facebook.
Why would they do that?
Why would they open up to everything?
How would providing free internet to everyone, sponsored by Facebook, how would they get any money out of that?
Well,
Wait,
it's a
can I
tax
just
write-off
be clear about something?
immediately.
This podcast is not sponsored by Facebook. Okay, I just wanted to... Maybe we should censor that, actually, I think.
Sponsored by Zuckerberg.
Ooh.
Sponsored by Threatfix.
Sponsored by Threatfix.
So I think that they get it based off of public opinion, right? The same reason everybody volunteers for anything. You either want other people to know that you're a good person, or you're trying to go to heaven, right? That's the only reason why people do volunteer work.
Yeah, I mean, it is good PR. I mean, that's
Right.
definitely...
So why wouldn't they do it for that?
because there's easier ways to get good PR than spending billions and billions of dollars to set up infrastructure and maintain service. Why would they do it?
Because
Do you think they can realistically make enough money off something like this, or do you think this is just like the start?
this is a loss leader. It's an emerging market that eventually is going to blow up, and you want to get them in your infrastructure early.
You want to get them using Google before you get them using Facebook, so that they're more familiar with it. I mean, it makes sense. It's any technology is like that, and I think that's okay. That's competition. That's I like that. That's good. Now, if a government goes in there, I'm not as in favor of a government going in there and tailoring the internet to a certain type of people, right? And censoring everything. Now, I know earlier I talked about censorship, but I was using it in the context of if a company came in there, and I think that that's a very different thing.
So there's good and bad things about this proposal. It has been banned in India for the time being, just because it goes against a violation of data service regulations, just that India has in place. So
How long was it live in India before it got banned?
I think it was. I don't think it ever actually came out in India. I think it was proposed, and then in February of the I think it was this year, they just banned it.
Yeah,
so
sure.
free basics. So internet.org from Facebook is still a thing, but it's mostly in other developing countries that don't really have these regulations in place. So we should see how this turns out, but I honestly, I think other countries are going to look at this and be like, well, if it's not good enough for India, why would we have it?
Yeah,
And then
I would.
something else will come out.
Yeah,
The countries could say, hey, this is a good way to monitor everybody who lives here.
Well, they're not doing the monitoring.
Come on.
No, Facebook would be doing the monitoring. Why would they give any information to the government unless they're like, okay, we'll share this with you?
Well, what if the government doesn't let them go into their country without all the data flowing through them anyway?
I think that if that happens, Mark, I think that a Facebook or a Google would decide, well, we're not going to spend billions of dollars on your country then. I think that there has to be an incentive for them to do it by the government. In the case of India, it makes sense. India makes sense because India, they really are good at controlling information there, and they don't want a third party coming in and opening things up like that.
I guess my point is, what if the government of the country where it's going welcomes it, and that's how they're going to be paying the company, like Facebook, to do this whole project, as long as all of the information flows through them, and then
just a caveat to get in
that.
there, right?
Yeah, and I mean that's how they're going to make their money. Maybe they don't openly say that, but they're Facebook going to go into a developing country somewhere, but in the background they're getting a kickback from the country, and that's how the whole thing gets
It's
started.
just a dark path they're going down.
Then they get to monitor all their people.
And then it's essentially looking at the Dark Knight when Batman's looking at everyone's cell phone in the entire city.
Yep.
I believe Google has
R.I.P.
a saying, Mark, that says "Don't be evil." And
Oh, they actually got rid of that.
yeah, now it says something else. What is it?
Don't not be good.
It's something like that. It's like be good instead of don't be evil. But you're right. I mean, they could. That is a possibility, and that would be a shame. And you would hope that people, wouldn't do that.
Well, it's interesting because plenty of people have been proposing services like this. I did mention earlier the weather balloons or whatever, drones that want to provide overhead internet access. I mean, that's just a terrible idea and will not work, but it's going to be a topic that's brought up, for I guess for the next 10 years until something actually happens, until these developing countries finally get on the internet. I think maybe I think I read somewhere in Africa there's a specific country where 5% of the country knows more about the internet than they do about Facebook. So they think Facebook is the internet already. And this is without this program. So it's interesting to see how this will develop. I just want to know if governments or other bodies are going to start just getting rid of this, getting rid of an idea like this, or what they're going to do in the future. Because this is, guys, I think the internet is at this point, an essential part of everyone's lives, at least in the first world countries.
So
Agreed? Is that an agreement?
single payer internet is what I'm hearing.
Okay. All right. Keep going.
Let's
keep
do
going.
it.
Raise them taxes.
No. Google provided all.
Oh, okay. Yep. And what happens to Comcast
No, R.I.P. Comcast.
and Heath Ledger?
Whoa. Too far, sir. An entire corporation of people? A-okay.
Does anyone have any other comments about this topic?
I think that internet to third world countries should be a thing. I just don't fully know if private corporations are the way to do
we
it.
have
Then
solved
how would
nothing for
how
you.
would that happen?
You've gained
I
no
know.
insight into this topic at all in the last 20 minutes that we've been talking, is what I'm hearing, Mark.
Yeah,
Well, Rob,
I just don't know whether to trust the untrustable corporations or the untrustable governments.
someone has to set it up,
I agree.
and it's going to be based on money. So it's going to be corporations. They need people to pay them for it, and giving money is, gross, but it's the more trustful way, in my opinion, than saying, "Hey, come check out my tent. Come on in." You don't need. So, I don't know, Rob. You seem to be a little bit more lenient towards this because you think that it will kickstart exactly what I think should happen.
Yeah, I think
So-
that once you give someone something, it's hard to take it away.
But if they're comfortable, maybe they won't need to, or maybe they don't have enough money, or they have enough other things in their lives to stress out about that they just don't even think about it. Some people are just struggling to even catch food that day, and then they go on Facebook and post their catch of the day or something. I don't know. It's just it's weird, Rob. In a perfect world, that's exactly how it should work.
Yeah,
What is this podcast about?
So this podcast is sponsored by Threatcast. It's a discussion about cybersecurity topics and other technology-related things, Mark.
No, I meant this episode. The topic.
Oh, it's about internet, bro. Internet.org.
Cyber.
So if you're not bored by this point, congratulations, you made it to the end. And
yay,
this is
the
Paul.
four of you.
Four. Ooh.
Yeah, that's probably ambitious.
So thank you for listening, and hopefully you'll listen next time.